Van Michael Salons in Atlanta. This is my model Leah, and today we're going to be taking her long shag into an angled bob instead, kind of creating a transition. Shag's been pretty popular for a long time, and we're going to create a really shaggy, cool angled bob. So to start with that, we're going to section straight down the middle. I've done a little bit of pre-sectioning. I'll go ahead and get it ready to go, and we're going to create a nice long angled graduation through the back, and with that then we're going to connect down into the front length here to the front. So with that done, we're going to get started, starting with the center section. I'm going to start vertically, and what I want to do is I want to measure out the bottom, and I'm going to just kind of hold out this length because I want this to be extremely dramatic. So this is the length that we're trying to keep here in the front, and I want to see kind of an angle of where that's going to begin. So that's going to help me measure the bottom, as I want to connect the dots between that and the very bottom section here. So visually getting that in mind. So we're going to be quite long here on the bottom starting out, right? So just getting that in my mind, we're going to pull it out. It'll be quite long all the way down to right there, I believe. And we're going to go with a pretty strong angle of graduation. We're going to cut between the first and the second knuckle. We're going to stop. We're going to readjust to maintain our tension. And then from there, we're going to carry our angle all the way up and out. Readjust again at the second knuckle. We're going to carry that angle up and out. And again, readjust at the second knuckle. And then as you readjust, you want to maintain your tension and readjust your root angle, but make sure that you're not over elevating, making it too high, which no longer allows it to graduate, but that layers it a bit more. So we're still going to create a graduation here. And what we're going to do is basically use a pivot technique from here. And we're going to be pie shaping all the way down into our graduated bottom. So from that top corner, we're going to take a pie shaped section. Section this flat out of the way. That out of the way. And we'll have our first and second section we'll be working with. I like to move everything clean, get it out of the way. Take about half of that section, work with just a small piece. We're going to find our guide, which is right here. Here's our guide. Oh. Cut to our second knuckle. Now let's readjust. Find our guide. Our elevation is coming directly off of our parting. Nice and clean. And then we'll be elevating up all the way through to the crown and creating a continuous line. Now I want to just section away that section and that section alone, because that's going to be my new guide. We want to eliminate the other hair, get it out of the way, and then we'll bring down the new. Again, pie shaping from the top. That hair out of the way. So each section, we're going to be elevating up, combing up from underneath. Stop at our second knuckle. Readjust. And follow that pattern all the way through. Now, we want to section away our new section. We're pie shaping again. want to keep everything nice and clean. Get it out of the way. We're going to take a small amount of our last section. Find our guide there, nice and clean. Stop at our second knuckle, readjust, maintain our tension all the way through. Stop at our second knuckle, readjust. Repeat, readjust. We stop at our second knuckle. To maintain tension purposes, we have no tension between the first and the second there. We're going to add a last section to this, sectioning away just that last one that we did. Get that out of the way. It's nice and neat. We just have these two. Finding our guide, maintaining our angles, parallel, parallel. Stop, second knuckle, readjust to maintain tension. Did we do it correctly? Are we live?
Yes,
awesome.
Rolling.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to go through and look at that section and cross-check it really quickly. We're going to resection from the center. We're going to take a diagonal line. We want to look at that section. I want to elevate it up. We should have a nice clean cross section. We're going to take a few little tiny hairs away. Just make sure they're nice and clean. Should be basically forming a nice sort of V towards the middle. Triangular graduation is actually what we're working on technically. So we're just going to cross-check that again. Cross-check looks really nice. I'm going to bring in now the other side, so we'll be cutting the other direction. All right, so now we change hand position. The other side, you're over here. This way, you're over here. Whether it's a tight graduated bob or whether it's really long and extended, triangular graduation is still exactly the same. You're still going to be working off of clean sections. You'll be pie shaping all the way through, and you'll be cross-checking to make sure that you end up in a nice V. So let's go back to center section first and make sure that that's nice and balanced and clean. And we start from the top rather than the bottom. And the key is to make sure, again, you stop at your second knuckle. Grab the hair, readjust, make sure that you've got a nice clean section to work with. And it's easy to see your graduation develop if you stick with the same pattern. And make sure that you keep your hand and your elevations flowing in the direction of your sectioning. You should be able to maintain the angle of graduation you're looking for. Now we're going to eliminate the center section. Get it out of the way. just have a single pie-shaped section to work off of, keeping things very clear, very simple, very easy to follow, nice, clean, sharp lines. Again, second knuckle, stop, readjust, and maintain my plane. Make sure that that plane stays the same all the way into the shoulder, and just make sure that I'm continuing that angle. The pivoting sections will take me in the direction that I want to go. I just have to trust the plane of each section and let the geometry of the haircut do its job. So as you pie shape across, if you stay in plane, you will create the graduation you're looking for and the movement you're looking for. Stay in the plane. Make sure that you don't bend. Everybody's inclination is to come down and then sort of turn towards the jaw because they see that shape of an A-line going that way. Physics and the curvature of the head will create the curve all by itself. You stay in the straight line and let the line take care of the weight. And the weight will wrap itself around the curvature of the head properly. And again, here's an example. There's my line. If you notice the comb direction, we're staying in plane all the way down. And at the moment, that's pointing me towards the shoulder. The next section is going to pie shape, and so therefore that pie shape will point me again more towards the front. So each time that pivot takes you and points your angle a little bit closer towards the chin. All right, same thing. Pie shape. I need to eliminate in plane. Just today opened up my brand new box of the Van Michael scissors. Thank you for that. And makes the haircut just a lot smoother to have a brand new blade. But I like the 5.5 offsets, but we offer quite a few different styles and shapes if you like, but they are one seriously sharp blade, and so I really enjoy working with them. Thank you for my new pair of scissors for today's hair braid. Again, holding my plane, keeping my guide, we're going to go straight down. As you can see, my new blades got me earlier today. Nice and sharp they are. And in plane, all the way down. Making sure that I have that right angle to point down to that length. Now it's time to cross-check the other side. Got a point. That's coming from the bottom section. So that's why we cross-check. As I lifted it up, I over-elevated a tiny bit. I got that one little bit. So now I'm clean into my V. And that's why we cross-check, is to catch tiny little things like that. Make sure that you've got a nice, clean, strong V going. Should be much better at the top. It's really just the bottom section that I over-elevated. And yep, looking really good here at the top. And that change of hand positions is one of the reasons that you can over-elevate and why it's a must to go through and clean up your sections and balance them out. Because when you hold one this way and one this way, you're bound to have a slight difference. So cross-checking is the reason or the answer to fix any challenges that may come up. Length is good, angle is good. We should have a nice sort of shaggy graduated fall. The fact that it's, she's got a nice natural texture, but the fact that we've cut it so long, it's going to hit the curvature of the neck and bend in and create a flip in a direct, angled direction and movement rather than just tucked under angled bob. So have a really strong texture going through to the side. So now we're going to rotate into the sides. So I continue the pie shaping effect directly from the crown, and I'm going to continue pie shaping. The only thing that's going to be different from this side panel to the back panel is that my elevation is going to change. And here, my elevation was a traveling guide, and here it's also going to be a traveling guide, but the traveling guide in the back shifted from the previous to the next section. Now we're going to be taking the next section and shifting it back to the previous section to gain a little bit of length as we move forward. So to do that, we're going to need to find the last section. So we'll go backwards one step, section that off, and then we take a clip, and then we get this out of the way so that that gives us our guide moving forward. So we're going to take that, I'm going to pick it up, and now as we go moving forward, and we now should be able to find our guide. And now this next section is being brought back down to the level of the previous section. So that's going to make it gain about a 1/4 inch in length, maybe a 1/2 inch in length, depending on where you're at on the head. So then from there, you're going to continue that angle all the way down. And then from here, another pie shape, slightly getting wider at the bottom. And every time I pie shape, the angle starts pointing more to the shin. So we're pie shaping all the way around. And then we're going to go back and eliminate. We're going to get rid of the section previous. So we have to then hide that one underneath and stay clean. So you're just working with those two sections. And you're going to overdirect that one back to its previous section also. And again, continuing your plane all the way down. So pie shape one more time, all the way through. Pivot, lock that out of the way, go back, find your last section. You just got a piercing the other day. I'm trying to be extremely gentle here. She's tender.
Yeah, I made it a point to mention it before we started. Sorry, guys.
Sorry. And here's our guide and our plane. Follow that all the way out. Bring that down. The last. Again, back down to the level of the previous angle And that's going to give you a little bit of extra length and gain in that section. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So let's section away the previous. You need that. We're going to clip it up out of the way. And then we're also going to section away the new one, like right here. And that gives us our guide. Make sure it's damp enough. Following that angle. Again, taking our plane all the way down. Section away the previous section. Put that out of the way. Get the next one ready to go. Again, pie shaping so that your angle turns a little bit. And then now, that next section ready. Get the previous one as your guide. Stay nice and clean. Or direct back to the previous guide to preserve your length. Next section. Previous section. Flip it away. Next section. And last section on this side. All right, so you can see movement, graduation, angle, a lot of fun, a lot of texture. She's got great texture to her hair. Now we're gonna bring in the top section of layers just a little bit.
Would there be anyone that would not be a good candidate for this haircut?
I think anybody with too fine of a texture is going to have a hard time with this because of the length. If you have really fine, straight hair, do this and do it on your chin length. But, if you've got this voluminous, thick, wonderful wave that she has, the length is really fun and it just gives it a lot of movement. She doesn't wear it like board straight. She wears it with a lot of just natural movement and texture in her hair. And she's been shagged for quite a while, so we figured something a little bit different would be fun, just to bring in angles to the situation and still kind of work off of the shag that she has. So we're still going to be shaggy and messy, but create just a little face frame. She has an interior face frame that I'm about to show you that's really neat and cool. So we section her fringe along her hairline. And we section away a few little hairs. To be a little interior frame on the underneath, inside of her bob. So she also wants like a little kind of baby fringe underneath. She likes a short fringe. So I like to cut her fringe in layers, and I'll cut the first fringe really short underneath. Move that out of the way and get it. Just enough of her hairline to have just a fine little fringe there. We do a few different layers of it. So choppy baby fringe, over directed towards the center to give it a little bit more of a roundness to it. Cut the length first, and then give it a little bit of a diagonal chop inside, and that just spreads them out but chops them up a little bit. Then another little diagonal point cut in there, breaks it up. I like doing that while it's wet because it just gives it a little extra chunky vibe. So you can see that kind of spreads her baby bang out. Then the next thing we're going to do is bring another layer of thing. Well, actually, let's do the side baby bang also. Okay, then so just take that corner, slide down a little bit, slide down a little bit, then thin little slices. Then I'm going to over direct this way. So that way, if she pulls her hair up, she can have all sorts of fun little face frames. this side, I'm careful to over direct the opposite direction, and that gives it a little bit of a graduated push back towards this side, so it kind of wraps around her eyeball. And then every little section, I want to make sure I elevate it up and over so that I'm just slicing downward. That creates a nice like graduation that pushes kind of around the cheekbones a little bit.
Those blades really are sharp.
Mm-hmm. The blades are super sharp. So we take that down, and then that creates kind of an over frame. I'm going to push that out of the way and then do the next layer of fringe. Okay, so layer number 2 of fringe. So this layer I elevate a tiny bit more and create more of a softer sort of shag effect. And I disconnect 1/4 inch from here, slightly longer, again chop into it a lot. But that elevation creates more of a roundness to the bang, kind of rounding it that way, really chopping it up. I get a few of those longer ones disheveled in the middle, and then again, gonna over direct that up. And so she has 2 small layers of over directed bangs that are gonna be fringy and choppy around her face, and that gives all sorts of different angles when she wants to wear her hair up or back. Soft, but it's really, really softening just around her face. And now, front layer. All right. Here, preserving whatever length we have, we're just going to cut an interior angle. It's going to be pretty minimal. Make it scoop as it falls to the other side. I'm going to add just a little bit more to it. My guess will be the last section of hair that reaches at all towards this. And yes, pretty much running out of hair, nothing reaching that line. So it should be just 2 sections on either side. And so now we're cutting that little interior angle off, preserving the length that's falling out, creating another form of graduation that kind of curves and wraps around. Again, adding to the softness of this bob because we don't want anything too perfect or heavy. We're looking for soft. We're looking for angles. And now we're going to tie in. We had a disconnected section through the top. We're just going to make sure it's tied in together with any of the sections that we did in the back. And probably be pretty simple over direction. our line. Do that. Careful with the growth pattern here. Grows off to the side. You don't want to pull it too far back because it's really going to hang more over here anyway. So loose tension when tying together a section from the crown, just allowing it to move. Here's our guide. We're just making sure all this is tied in, but this hair in general is falling over to that side. So no need to pull it straight back. Hair is not going to hang off the back of the head. Sorry, I got a phone call in the middle there. And same thing, we're tying that angle together, elevating it up. Loose tension, making sure everything's tied into the bob. So we should have a bob, and we should have a small triangle back here, triangle of graduation that we left. And so now what we're going to do is just section away from the very front all the way to the back diagonally, and we're just going to cut a little bit stronger perimeter line. And we've created an interior cut. And now we're going to look at the exterior line after all of this texture has been created. We want this to be a little bit dry. A little bit dry is helpful because that allows us to see like exactly where that hair is really going to fall. So no tension, no over direction, no elevation. And just let it fall. And then refine your line. Okay, if you got a tiny bit of graduation at the bottom, there's movement and tension in this haircut. We want it to be movable, soft. We're not trying to achieve zero line at the moment. What we're doing is just getting the strength. We're going to add weight to it, dropping it down section by section, and it's going to create a very nice heavy line at the bottom with a lot of interior texture that moves very, very well. So we're adding that little bit in, about to strengthen this up, and we're almost ready for some style. angle in. Going to create strength along the bottom. Has my wife made any funny comments yet?
No. Armand said, go Team Buckhead.
Armand and I created a really nice look a couple weeks ago with one of our favorite clients. And he does beautiful color, Mr. Armand, in our Buckhead location. I believe there was a tag with both of us in it from Van Michael Salon just the other day. Cool asymmetric, undercut, bright yellow, green look. Pretty cool. Okay, nothing else reaches. So we've created our mostly interior movement texture, and then everything else should be nice and solid through the bottom. And you can see through here, we've got a nice strong angle. We have a lot of texture and a lot of movement and everything there working with the direction of the shad. Don't move just yet. All right, so Nutriplenish Moisture Spray. It's a leave-in conditioner that is absolutely fantastic for curling hair. We're going to do a little bit of a diffusion texture styling today, so we really just want to put a lot of moisture in it. Leah's color is pretty amazing, done by my wife, who's also an amazing colorist for Van Michael Salon. She works in our East Cobb location, Leah Dara, and she's actually a badass colorist herself. And she did our model's hair, Leah, which happens to be my daughter. So I cut her. The stepmom colors her.
Well, shut up.
She's covered. She has a good hair team, for sure. So now I'm putting confiture. I want a light gel, and I'm making sure that I comb it through pretty evenly. A little bit more. I just hit her earring.
We digress.
Okay. So when I'm doing a big curl texture technique, I'm going to use a wide tooth comb. And what I'm going to do is take those same sort of diagonal sections, and I'm just going to clip the hair up out of the way one time. And use a little bit of moisture, make sure it's wet in there, and then starting from the right, I'll section like that. Starting from the right, I'll just take big chunks and kind of twist it, but that way I'm leaving indiscriminate natural curl in between. And that's not too perfect or neat, but you just get a little bit twisted. Not every one, but every other gives it a nice look, and you can go pretty quickly through that. Do like every other. So it allows it to dry in a nice kind of large curl. She already has nice large curls, but this helps just group some of them together. I always say frizzy hair is individual hairs that are all over the place, and pretty curls is about 10 hairs stuck together. So if you can group them together, you're always going to get a better chance of just a polished look. You know, something that sticks together. You don't want them too big, but it's nice to have them grouped and lumped together. I also like to zigzag the parts on the top whenever I do curl, because that gives a little bit more of a disheveled vibe rather than a straight line and a bunch of curly hair on either side. That never seems to flow as well. I always do it. My right hand's better than my left on that one. So I just start from the right, work my way around, and I let this hand hold the section out for me and get it ready. But it's a quick way to go about setting a whole head with kind of light, wavy curls rather than perfect texture or all natural, which can sometimes be too frizzy. So just a little bit of grouping helps. We're just grouping the hair. We're going to let it gather in the cup, and we're going to come all the way up to the top, and we're going to hold a minute.
That's just to get a little more volume at the root.
A little more volume at the root and just dishevel it a little bit, make it a little messier, and then, yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a shaggy, messy, graduated bob from a shag to a bob. Mm-hmm.